All right, I'm finally getting to this video. Reclaimed mine land. So everything that you see in front of you, minus the woods and the hills and stuff like that, but all the open area here, all the wetlands here below you, even some of this over here, all the way down is reclaimed mine land. Now there's two ponds here. There's the first pond here where the water comes out of the mines. It's been routed into there for settling. And then it runs through a series of wetlands with all the cattails. And there's three wetlands. So there's a settling pond up here, and then there's three wetlands down through here, and then there's a finishing pond, or a polishing pond, what they say. And the concept behind this is called passive filtration. So as the water comes out of the mines, you can see over here that orange color on the bank over there. A lot of folks say that's sulfur, and even when we were kids we referred to it as the sulfur creek as it ran down out of the hollow. It's not sulfur, though there is sulfur in it. That is iron. So there's ferric and ferrous iron in that water, and it oxidizes, it rusts, and that's what gives it the orange color. Now there's tons of other heavy metals and other stuff in that water as it comes out of the mines, but that's essentially the purpose of this, is to help clean the metals out of the water before it drops down into the tributary down here at the other end of the hollow, and then goes out into the main watershed. So this mine was opened in the 1890s, and it went all the way, ATV here, all the way out around the hill here to the very front. And there was a tipple, there was a rail yard. This road, there's a row of houses down through here. This used to be called Trainer Row, and that's where all the people who trained and managed the donkeys, the mules in the mines lived. They had the stables back there, and they were the trainers to train the donkeys and the mules to pull the coal cars out of the mines. And so this mine, the last coal come out of this mine in 1960, and there was 35,000 or 253,000, somewhere in that range, tons of coal taken out in that last year of 1960. And then they just shut the mine down. They idled it, and nobody worked it, nobody done anything to it, and the company finally went defunct in 1965. Well, this property was bought after it had closed, and it was left as is. All the equipment, the openings and everything were still there. All of this, everything was still here. So the guy who bought this property came in, and this was of course before the Superfund Act, I think of 1976 or 1977. And he came in and he brought in a big giant boring machines. And what he did was he just set up and bored back into the mountainside here, into the mines, and was pulling coal out that way. And of course, as you're boring in, all of your waste and your overburden and everything like that gets dumped behind it. And when I was a kid, now this was in the 70s when he did all of this. And then he just, after he got all the coal out of here that he wanted, he just left. And from clear down here, all the way up through here, this whole bottom, and clear back up over this meta here, back here there's a freshwater pond back here that we have. It was just mounds of waste material. And I mean 20, 30 foot tall mounds of waste material. If you didn't know your way through to get up here to the pond to go fishing, you'd have got lost. It was scary as a kid because you didn't know. I mean, you made a wrong turn, you were lost. You had to climb up to the top of a waste pile, figure out where you was at, and climb down, and hopefully you're gonna find your way out. And it's no exaggeration, and all this looked like that for years. And of course, where he dug back into the mines, bored back into the mines, all that mine water come out untreated and just as orange. It looked like orange paint running down out of here. And if you got that stuff on your clothes, they were ruined. They were stained permanently. You was never getting that orange color out of your clothes. And the creek that this dumps into was the same way. All the way down to the main watershed, the West Fork River, was just orange. And I remember that for years. And my family, my grandparents and my great aunt and uncles used to live right here. And I remember coming up here as a kid and how scary this was up here and just how nasty it was. And so in 1997, they came in, the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, came in and done reclamation and reclaimed all of this. Now, when they dug these ponds and these wetlands out, they dug big holes in there and they lined them with a plastic, real heavy plastic. And then they dumped a bunch of manure and old hay and stuff in the bottom of them. They called it charging them. They would charge it so they could get the vegetation to grow in them. So the passive filtration is that the metals that are in the water are opposite charged from the vegetation. And as the water flows through, it sticks and attaches to the vegetation, therefore cleaning the water. Now, that concept worked great. Within the first year, the creek all the way down out of the hollow cleaned up. The water turned clear. It was no longer stained orange. We started getting little fish back in the water. Ducks and muskrats and all kinds of wildlife returned back to the water, and it was fantastic. And it did stay there for years. And this was actually the very first site in the state of West Virginia where the passive filtration system was done. So when they did this, and whoever came up with the design and they designed it and did this, they had the EPA up here doing studies. They had West Virginia University students in departments up here doing studies on it and everything. And they modeled, I think, 24 or 25 other reclamation sites in this state after this one, because it was so effective when they did it. And then as you get regime changes, and I'll just put it that way, throughout government and throughout hierarchy in the departments and stuff like that, this place fell to the wayside. They were supposed to come and keep the banks and stuff cleared around the ponds. They were supposed to keep the brush cut down. They were supposed to come in and flush the lines, which they did, but they didn't do it every year. So it just kind of fell to the wayside. And then probably about 2010, the water started getting nasty again, and the creek started turning again. And then the beavers moved in up here, believe it or not. The beavers moved in up here and dammed up a couple of these ponds to where they actually overflowed and were overflowing. So there's a little road right here. These ponds were overflowing across that road into what they refer to as a blue line stream, which is a natural stream that runs down through here and just flowing directly into it. And then there ended up, somebody come up here with a backhoe and just ripped the beaver dam out, and it just dumped all that water down the hollow, and there was a fish kill downstream, and that's what got their attention. So at that time, we were pursuing buying this property, and we knew what it was all about, but it borders us all the way. This is all our property back here behind it and all the way alongside of it. And as you come around, this entire mountain range here, this whole ridge line all the way around is ours. And then it comes all the way over to here, right up here to this point. And just as it drops down in this saddle, and we own on the other side of the hill there too, as it drops down in the saddle, there's a little gully comes down out of there, and the fence line runs right over and right down along. If you could see that tractor over there, the fence line runs just on this side of this tractor right in through here and goes all the way down. So there was 57.25 acres here that adjoins all of our property around it. So we decided, did we need it? No. But did we want it? Yes, because who knew who was going to buy this and what they were going to do with it, and we didn't want to contend with a bunch of stuff, so we decided we'd buy it. Now, all of this big meadow right here, so that is all material that they pulled out of here all the way down when they dug these ponds and did all the reclamation. That's all that material up there. And the freshwater pond that sets back in that little cove back there, it used to just be about a little 3-foot grade right down to the water. Now it's about 12 to 15 feet from all of that fill. And when they decided they were going to come in and reclaim all this, because the cost of coming in, they would have to dredge all of these ponds and wetlands, completely clean them out, pull the old liner out. In the meantime, divert and treat the water away from all of this while they're doing that. Reline these ponds, recharge them, divert the water back into them, get the vegetation back into them for this to be an effective system again. They did over a year's worth of water quality testing. They actually drilled into the mines from our property, 2 points on our property, was testing the water as it was in the mines and also as it come out into the ponds, through every section of wetland, through the polishing pond at the end, and then down at the tributary in the watershed. And after a year worth of water testing, they decided reclamation, re-reclamation, or remediation is going to be the best choice for this and the most cost effective. Now, when they came in here and done this, I told you the mines come in clear around the hill. They dug a trench all the way around the hill that they were driving triaxles in, dropping stone in. What they did is they dug all the way around there. They dug back in and opened up the mines, or made openings into the mines, and did what they like a wet seal on the mines, and did an anoxic seal. So the water, and they piped it all, so the water as it comes out of the mines doesn't get exposed to oxygen until it comes out in these pipes down here into the ponds. And the reason for that is as that water comes in contact with oxygen, atmospheric oxygen, it immediately oxidizes the ferric and the ferrous iron in the water and turns it orange. So that's why they did anoxic drains through all the way through here. Now the plan is I had them come in because they added so much fill up here in this whole big meadow and made the slope down to the freshwater ponds so steep and so high. As I asked him, I said, can you use that as your borrow site as you come in? Because what they're going to have to do is this is going to be a huge, huge underground plumbing job is what it turns out to be. So the water will no longer come out into the ponds. They'll have to pipe it on top of the ground for now, treat it before it goes into the tributary, and then come in and drain these ponds, treat the water in the ponds, drain them, and then they're going to fill those ponds full of rock, full of stone. They come in and did core sample testing in this whole big meadow here where they put all that fill. And they said there is comparable good soil down 20 feet that they can come right back and replant grass on. So what they'll do is they'll come in here and they'll scrape up all the topsoil off of these meadows, pile it up off to the side, and then use the bulk of all that material to bring this way and re-slope, regrade, and fill those ponds in all the way down. So all of that is coming this way. And like I said, they'll push the topsoil up off to the side, and then when they're done and they get the grade here, this won't be near as steep. There'll be hardly a slope here. There'll be a slope, but not near as bad. All these ponds go away, and where the road is currently, it's just a little dirt road, little dirt path right up through here. All that water gets piped underground, and it's going to come out over there into what they call oxidation pools. And these are going to be, and I'm assuming they're going to be concrete based, but they're going to be, I think, 20 feet wide, 100 feet long, and about a foot deep. And however they're going to do it, as the water comes out and goes into these oxidation pools, it'll hit all 5 or 6, however many there are going to be down through there, and it creates a ripple effect of the water. And as it does that, it allows the metals to drop out of the water. And I don't know the particulars of it. I'm not an engineer. I didn't design it. But what it does is it cleans the water as effectively, if not more effectively, than this passive filtration system did. So that, all of this, where the road is, becomes oxidation pools, 20 feet wide, 100 feet long, and a foot deep. Becomes a series of oxidation pools where all of this, pond and all the way down and around. Let me see if I can walk over here and show you. So, settling pond, wetland, 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 and then right there is the polishing pond, the very last pond. So all of this gets returned back to us. becomes all usable land again. All the ponds go away, all the wetlands go away, everything goes over there. And then after they finish off their final grade and everything else is done, they're going to come in and reseed. They're going to use, I can't remember the mix of it, but they offered it to me. It's like a cattle mix or a ruminant or a grazing mix. So they'll reseed all of this, regrade all of this. All that what I currently cannot use, I will be able to use after that. And then we can start really looking at running cows in here, because the reason we haven't come in and fenced any of this right now is because of the pending reclamation. We were waiting to see how everything was going to turn out, to see if it was even worth the effort of fencing all of this in. Now, we own this other meadow over here as well, and like I said, clear up to the just on the other side of that point. So after they come in and do all of this, this all becomes usable to us, and we can really come in here and do our rotational grazing. You know, once we get it all fenced in, we've got a freshwater source up here, the freshwater pond. All of this gets redone, and you know what? It's a benefit for the community, not just us. I mean, we're not the only benefit we get from this. There's two benefits we get from that. Number one, it returns this unusable land to us, and number two, the water comes out of this mines, runs into the river from which our municipal water comes from. So you know, we're benefiting from that perk of that too, because the water's now going to be cleaner. It's going to have less heavy metals in it, less iron, less everything. So, you know, we're not going to complain about that. And it's better for the community, because everybody downstream, hell, everybody in this region right here gets water from the same river that this mine drains into. And it's not just this mine. My God, if you look back at the old, I have a book that detailed all of the little mining communities that used to be in Marion County, Mon County, Harrison County, Taylor County. And I'm gonna tell you, you know, in the early 20th century, every time you went around a turn, it was another mine, another mining camp, another mine, another mining camp, just hundreds of them. Matter of fact, just in this hollow alone, so this mine had another portal a little farther down the hollow, and then there was another mine down there called the Clark Mine. And then there was another mine down there, and I can't remember what the name of it was. And then there was another mine on the other side of the hollow. And then just over across the hill, there was a ton of mines. So there was mines all over the place around here in the early 20th century. And the problem is that a lot of these places went out of business and just left everything as is before the Superfund Act come into play. And now if you want to come in and do a coal mine, a strip mine, a mountaintop removal, or anything like that, you have to put up a bond of a lot of money that will cover reclamation of the land once you leave it, once you're done mining it, and also for the treatment of the water for however many years in the future. That's why they did, when they come up here and did a cost analysis on treating this water, if they were going to choose a chemical treatment, it was going to be, they did a 70-year cost analysis. And the reason they did that is because they would have to treat, the water's always going to be coming out of this mine, it's always. Is they do a 70-year cost analysis. I think at the time, with the price of, they would put a silo up here. It's called a doser. It's like a big silo, and they would fill it full of soda ash. And they would measure, it would put in so much soda ash every so often based on what the water was needing. And they did that cost analysis over 70 years, and it was somewhere in a range of like $60 million over 70 years. And that's when they decided they would do a year's worth of water quality testing, and then make a decision from there as to whether they're going to just dredge and redo these ponds and continue that, do a chemical treatment, or look at complete and total remediation. And it ultimately came out to be that total remediation was going to be cheaper up front and in the future, to just go ahead and do it that way now, and that way it's all taken care of. So, you know, that was the problem, is that there was so many mines that went out of business and closed shop before the Superfund Act come into play. And that's where we get all of the polluted water, all of the waste, mine waste and stuff like that, that still haunts us in this state today. Is because they've reclaimed, I can't tell you how many hundreds of mine sites since then using those funds, but there's still how many hundreds out there right now that they still need to go in and reclaim and remediate and everything like that. So, you know, this is an impact here. Like I said, it's not bad property. You've just got about probably about 9 acres right here that's not usable at all. So 9 acres. I mean, you can put goats in here if you want to put some goats in here, let them munch on the brush and stuff like that. But, you know, the water is ultimately the big thing. Now, this coal seam here is what's referred to as the Pittsburgh coal seam. And there's some of the best aquifers and some of the best producing artesian wells on the East Coast come out of the Pittsburgh coal seam. And this water, if they'd have never come in and mined this property, and what the mining did was it opened up those coal seams and dug into that water and allowed that water into all of the metals and stuff that's in everything else. That's where all of this comes from. If they would have never mined it, that water would have never hurt anybody, never caused any problems. But it's when they go in, the process of mining and removing the coal is what, you know, makes the water come out of the mines, and you know, it hits oxygen, and that's what oxidizes the iron and stuff in it. Now, and I think I said before right in the beginning of this is that, you know, a lot of people used to call it sulfur, and there is some sulfur in it, but the orange staining comes from iron, ferric and ferrous iron. You know, I don't have a problem with coal mining. I don't. Both of my parents were coal miners. Don't have a problem. Matter of fact, almost my entire family was coal miners. But done right, done responsibly, you know, you don't run into these problems like this. But there are, like I said, there are many mine sites that went defunct and closed up shop long before the Superfund Act come into play. And that's a lot where our problems come from with polluted waterways and everything like that from mine runoff. But, you know, this is going to be, I wanted you guys to see this, see how it's laid out now. And they've got, so like almost swales here, berms, that catches any runoff water and diverts it away from the mine water, so it doesn't, you know, from the ponds and stuff like that, so it doesn't cause like an overflow or any kind of contamination. That's why you see this all the way around here like that, because it catches the groundwater running down, diverts it away from the ponds, so it doesn't cause like an overflow or anything like that. So just looking at this, you know, like I said, it's beautiful here, but it used to be, it looked like a wasteland. It really did when I was a young person growing up, and as far back as I can remember. I mean, and I'm talking, my family lived over here for years, and when I was 3 years old, my grandma lived right down here, so I remember coming right up to her place and visiting her and seeing the wasteland back here. And of course, then you get humans involved in that. So now this is all wasteland. Nobody's doing anything with it. Everybody's got free run of it. So now everybody's coming up here dumping trash. Everybody's coming up here dumping old vehicles, old appliances. And I mean, it really was. It was horrible. And you know, the cool thing is knowing how it used to look, how it looks now, and what it's going to look like in the end. That's going to be a huge difference. And I don't think I could be any happier, because I know these guys are going to do a good job. And by looking at the plans and the blueprints and everything that they have, and like I said, everything will get piped underground. There'll be no more, you know, surface water until it gets over and hits those oxidation pools. Everything goes underground, and I can come right in and fence and rotate my cattle and don't have to worry about them. And they're going to fence in where those oxidation pools are going to be over there. They're fencing all of that in so that, you know, livestock and animals can't get into it, and people and stuff. So hey, that's great on them. It reduces my liability, it reduces their liability. Everybody's happy, everybody's safe. The water's cleaner, the community becomes healthier. You don't have all this nasty stuff running down throughout the holla and you know, by everybody's house. So this is something, like I said, I've been wanting to do for a while, and get this on video for you guys to see this, see it now versus what it's going to be in the future. And they should be moving in. So the projected start date was June 3rd, and that just means that they couldn't bring their equipment in and start any earlier than June 3rd. So I would expect them in here probably this coming week. But a lot of big changes to see. I can't wait for it to start, and they're going to improve this all the way around. And like I said, even that big pretty meadow right that produces wonderful hay, they're going to just take the topsoil off, push it all up off to one side, and then use all of that to come down here and regrade this whole landscape through here and make it just a gentle slope down, make it all more usable. And then they'll come back and spread that topsoil back over top of it, reseed it with a good cattle mix, a good ruminant mix, and in a couple more years we should be seeing this all over again. It's just a little bit of different topography. All right, before I stop this video, I'll take you here and show you. So this channel here, look at this water. This is what I was talking about. So see that nasty orange? The water itself is clear. This is all iron. Ferric and ferrous iron and other metals that settle out of the water, and you get this little slime like this. Look at that. That's all from the metals in the water. They fall out as it flows, but the water's clear, but the staining is from all the metals. And that runs all the way back up through there where it comes out of the mines, out of those anoxic drains and anoxic seals. It comes in this way. All right, and you can see that little film on the water. You'll see that all the time through here, and those are just other impurities and stuff from the water that just kind of float on top. Now this comes directly out of the mines back in the hill there, and you can see it running out of there, and that's a pipe. So there's a big pipe back in there. All of this gets put underground from now on. But yeah, that's the nastiness. And of course there's certain bacteria and algae and stuff like that that thrive on this stuff. That's the funny thing is it thrives on this kind of stuff. But you see like that big clump right there. Sorry, the sun's so bright. I'm getting a big glare. Yeah, big old clump of whatever. It's not poop, I can promise you that. It's not poop. But it stains all along the bank, and that's the length of this thing. It's a really big, long pond. But yeah, this isn't sulfur. There is sulfur in the water. There's manganese, there's copper, there's aluminum, there's probably chromium, and God knows what else. But like I said, all of this is the orange staining that you see is from the ferric and the ferrous iron. Bad day to face west and try to do a video. Jeez. And there's coal. Oh God, there's a bunch of ants too. Yeah. So not uncommon to find coal. Welcome to West Virginia. But like I said, the last coal that came out of this mine officially was in 1960 until the guy come in and bored out the whole mountain all the way around and created the mess that you see now. All right, right over the hill here, down there is where we just came from. I'll show you guys the pond. Now this is the freshwater pond. So there is about a 12 to 15 or more foot difference in elevation from right here in this meadow where I'm standing, maybe even a little bit more, maybe even closer to 20, down to the pond. And before they done the reclamation, it was just a little 3 foot at best slope right down into the pond. And we used to come down here, we'd build campfires down here and we'd fish, and even though we weren't old enough, we were drinking beer and listening to music and telling jokes and telling lies and doing everything else. So this pond is probably, it's a long, narrow pond. Right here's the head of it. And it goes down, it goes clear around the corner down there. And then it drains out into that blue line stream there across from the mine ponds. But the really cool part of this is that all of the springs up on my property run down into this pond. So it's not a mine contaminated water per se. It's full of fish. There's bluegills, there's sunfish, there's bass, there's monster catfish in here. And like I said, it's beautiful. It's very quiet down here to come and set. You don't hear anything. And so this had the mine really, all of that water over there has no impact on this because there's no mine openings in through here. And this is actually above grade of where the mine water runs into the ponds down there. So we're hoping, since they're going to use all of this meta as a borrow site, and you can see the difference in height here in elevation. There's the side-by-side, and I'm down here. And I told him, I said, I want this brought back down to just about 3 foot difference from where the field's going to be to the pond. That way it's a little easier access to the pond all the way around, because it's like that all the way around the pond here. So all of this gets used for fill as a borrow site for over there. But compared to what it was when I was a kid, well, up until 97, it's gorgeous now. Even with the ponds and the nasty mine water, it's still much better than what it used to look like. But all of this will change. They're not cutting any trees out or anything like that. This brush and stuff will come out, but all of this will go that way. And it's a big deal. I mean, it's a big earth moving job. But when they're done, all that land gets returned back to us as usable, where it's not now. So, all right, I think longest video I've done to date. Yep, over 32 minutes. That's just a little history. Like I said, everything that I learned from working with the DEP and the water guys, and just getting my information about it. But hopefully here in the next several months, I can come back here and do another video and show you guys the difference. So you can reference this one to see what it looks like if you're interested. Anyways, last video I'm going to do for quite a while. Got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm going to be busy, and I'll try to pop 1 or 2 in here and there, but if I'm not on for a couple weeks, you'll know why. In the meantime, get and stay prepared, stay free. God bless y'all.